In economics, it's not only important what your budget is, but also what you like and dislike. Now that we speak about liking, please like this video and subscribe to my channel if this video was helpful after watching it. Let's continue. As I spoke about in my earlier video on the concept of utility, economists like to simplify the world. That's also what we're going to do today in this video, so assume there are only two goods in this world. Say you like burgers, but you also like coffee. We can draw this in a graph. On the y-axis we have the number of burgers you buy in a week, and on the x-axis the number of coffees you buy in a week. In this graph we can draw a curve, which is called the indifference curve. It is called that way because you as a consumer derive the same level of utility from each point on the graph. A point on the graph can be 7 burgers and 1 coffee, but also 3 burgers and 3 coffees. You are indifferent between these combinations, meaning that you get the same level of satisfaction for both combinations. This is the case for all points on the indifference curve. The slope of the indifference curve is called the marginal rate of substitution. This measures the willingness of a consumer to trade burgers for coffee while at the same time keeping the same utility. We can find the marginal rate of substitution by drawing a line tangent to the curve at a specific point. For example, at this point the slope of the curve is -3, meaning that you are willing to give up 3 burgers for 1 extra coffee. At this point the slope of the curve is -1, meaning that you are willing to give up 1 burger for 1 extra coffee. The further you move along the indifference curve, the lower the marginal rate of substitution becomes. This is logical when you think about marginal utility. Every extra coffee makes you less satisfied than the coffee you had before. We can draw multiple indifference curves in the same graph. Indifference curves further away from the origin, so further away to the right, give you more satisfaction than indifference curves closer to the origin. This makes sense because when you consume more burgers and more coffee, this makes you happier. For this reason, indifference curves can never intersect. Why not? If indifference curves intersect, it would have to be the case that there are different utilities for the same level of consumption. This happens at the point of the intersection. This makes no sense and therefore we assume that it is impossible that this happens. Next to that, it would also mean that the consumer is indifferent between the two consumption bundles. However, in the green dot you have more burgers and more coffee than in the red dot, so you should have a higher utility. Just remember, indifference curves can never cross. Indifference curves can also have different shapes. This indifference curve has straight lines. Indifference curves are straight in case of perfect substitutes. If you for example like tea and coffee equally, you are always willing to trade 1 tea for 1 coffee and vice versa, no matter where on the indifference curve you are. This means that you have a marginal rate of substitution of 1, which corresponds to a straight indifference curve. These indifference curves are L-shaped. This happens in the case of perfect complements. You can think of left shoes and right shoes. If you have 1 left shoe and 1 right shoe, your utility will not increase if you have 1 more left shoe. Your utility will only increase when you get more of both left shoes and right shoes. Take a look at this point for example, where you have 1 left shoe and 1 right shoe. If I give you 1 more left shoe, you will go to this point on the indifference curve. Your utility will not increase because you don't have an extra pair of shoes, just 1 more left shoe. For this reason, the indifference curves are L-shaped. That brings us to the end of the video. If you want to help me out massively, please remember to like this video and subscribe to my channel. This will allow more people to learn from my videos. See you in my next video.